afternoon and welcome to Spectrum Television News at 12. I am Uyai Imam, coming to you live from Uyo, the Akwa Ibom State's capital. Let's take a look at the headlines. Presidential Committee vows swift overhaul of Nigeria's security training institutions. Vice President Shettima returns to Abuja after United Nations COP30 in Brazil. In other news, China suspends special port fees on United States vessels. We'll bring you the details of these stories and more in a moment. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. We begin this afternoon from the national scene where the Presidential Committee on the Overhaul and Revamp of Training Institutions for Security Agencies, chaired by Enugu State Governor Peter Mbah, has reaffirmed its commitment to meeting the deadline for submitting its findings and a comprehensive bill of quantities detailing the total cost of refurbishing the nation's security training facilities for full implementation. The assurance was given during the committee's inspection of the Nigeria Police Training School, Nordwatai in Rivers State. Part of a nationwide assessment of security training institutions, the 8-member committee inaugurated by President Bola Tinubu under the auspices of the National Economic Council was accompanied on the visit by Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara, Ogun State Governor Dakbo Abiodun, and the committee's secretary, retired IGP Baba Usman, among others. During the inspection, the team observed that the non-water facility was in a state of severe neglect, with dilapidated buildings, vandalized infrastructure, and overgrown premises. Addressing journalists after the tour, Governor Mbah explained that the inspection was in line with President Tinubu's directive to conduct an urgent evaluation and rehabilitation of police and security training centers across the country. Now to the nation's leader. President Bola Tinubu has congratulated Chukwuma Soludo on his re-election as governor of Anambra State. Soludo was returned for a second term in office after recording a landslide victory, winning all 21 local government areas in the election, according to results declared by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, yesterday. The massive victory makes the professor the third governor in Anambra's political history to win a second term. In a statement personally signed by him, President Tinubu described Soludo's re-election as a testament to his visionary leadership and the significant progress recorded under his administration. He urged Governor Soludo to be magnanimous in victory and to seek the cooperation of his opponents in the just concluded election. President Tinubu also commended the new INEC chairman, Joash Amupiton, and his team for conducting what he described as a credible election based on reports received so far. He charged the Commission to maintain high standards and continue to improve its performance so they strengthen and deepen their electoral system. Away from that, Vice President Kashim Shettima has returned to Abuja after leading Nigeria's delegation to the 30th United Nations Climate Change Conference COP30 in Belém, Brazil. At the global event, the country reaffirmed its frontline position in global climate action and its commitment to a green transition. The return of the Vice President was announced yesterday in Abuja in a statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Communications in the Office of the Vice President, Stanley Mokocha. Shettima, who joined world leaders, development partners, and top industry executives at the Leaders Climate Summit, hosted by Brazilian President Luiz da Silva, urged the international community to recognize the economic value of nature and adopt predictable, equitable, and accessible funding mechanisms to protect and restore ecosystems. In a separate development, House of Representatives member Abdul Mumin Jibrin has officially returned to the All Progressives Congress APC from the NNPP and is backing President Bola Tinubu's re-election bid in 2027. This is contained in a statement issued by Jibrin, I beg your pardon, who represents Kiru and Bebeji constituency, Kano State. He made the announcement yesterday, renouncing his membership in the New Nigeria People's Party, NNPP, and the Kwankwasia movement, led by the former Kano State Governor Dr. Rabiu Kwankwaso. Jibrin's return to the APC came 2 months after his expulsion from the NNPP over alleged anti-party activities and non-payment of membership dues. Insecurity, the new Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Idi Abbas, has pledged to tighten maritime security, enhance operational capacity, and uphold the service's core values of integrity, professionalism, and teamwork. Speaking in Abuja, Vice Admiral Abbas lauded President Bola Tinubu for the confidence reposed in him, promising to discharge his duties with dedication, fairness, and loyalty. Vice Admiral Abbas noted the threats in Nigeria's maritime environment, including crude oil theft, sea robbery, illegal bunkering, unregulated fishing, and drug trafficking, saying these crimes undermine national security and the economy. He outlined a strategic plan anchored on fleet renewal, improved technology, intensive training, and better welfare for personnel. He also stressed the need for closer collaboration with sister services, other security agencies, and international partners to tackle maritime and coastal threats. Elsewhere, the Inspector General of Police, IGP Kade Betokun, has called for a deeper collaboration among security agencies, the academia, and communities to tackle Nigeria's multifaceted insecurity. Speaking at the third edition of a security summit organized by the Lagos State University of Education, LASUD, with the theme Strengthening the Partnership Between Town and Gown in the Age of Insecurity, Igbetokun said national security cannot rely on force alone, but must be anchored on education, morality, and civic responsibility. The police boss described the security threats confronting the country as complex and technology-driven, listing them as cyber attacks, misinformation, kidnapping, and terrorism. He also assured that the police force was transforming into an intelligence-led, technology-driven, and community-focused service through the use of data analytics, drones, forensic tools, and cybercrime units. Away from that, the president of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, Professor Chris Puinwa, has said that the federal government does not prioritize education because its officials do not consider the sector's problems as national concerns, requiring collective responsibility. Puinwa, who spoke during an interview, said the indifference of key government officials towards the education sector has made it difficult to achieve sustainable reforms. According to him, members of the Federal Executive Council often view education challenges as the sole responsibility of the Minister of Education. On labor matters, the Non-Academic Staff Union of Educational and Associated Institutions, NASU, has called on government officials to stop using the no work, no pay policy as a tool to intimidate against workers. The General Secretary of NASU, Peters Adeyemi, made the call in Abuja. Adeyemi said the repeated threats by government representatives to invoke the policy were unjust and contrary to the principles of fair labor relations. He explained that strikes were never impulsive actions, but the last resort taken after all lawful and conciliatory avenues had been exhausted. According to him, government officials often neglect agreements and delay workers' salaries, yet threaten sanctions when workers react. We move now to the continent of Africa, where Cameroon's presidential runner-up, Issa Bakari, has given authorities a 48-hour ultimatum to release all prisoners arrested in the protest that followed the re-election of Paul Biya. In a video posted on social media, Chiroma accused the government of state gangsterism and state terrorism. He also asked authorities to stop practices that he said include ethnic purges. Chiroma came second in the presidential election with 35.19% of the vote, finishing behind Paul Biya, who scored 53.66%. On the foreign scene, China has said that it will suspend for 1 year special port fees on U.S. vessels simultaneously, with Washington's pause on levies targeting Chinese ships as a fragile trade truce between the superpowers continues to take shape. The United States and China have been involved in a volatile trade and tariff war for months, but agreed to work back some punitive measures after President Xi Jinping and Donald Trump met last month in South Korea. Reports say at one point, duties on both sides had reached prohibitive triple-digit levels, hampering trade between the world's two largest economies and snarling global supply chains. The Transport Ministry, in a statement, said the suspension of the port fees, which applied to ships operated by or built in the United States that visited Chinese ports, began at 1 p.m. today. Still on the foreign scene, a deal aimed at ending the U.S. government shutdown has passed the Senate, paving the way for the record-breaking impasse to be broken. Reports say after a weekend of negotiations in Washington, a minority of Democrats joined with Republicans and voted in favor of an agreement. The vote is a procedural first step toward passing a compromise to fund the government since it ran out of money October 1st. Still to come in the news. Aqua United unveils new head coach Paul Ofor. Stay tuned for details of this and more in a moment. Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned. And now to conclude the news on this hour. In the world of business, Nigeria's gross profit from crude and gas sales fell by 43%, accounting for only about 8% of total oil and gas revenue, despite a rebound in oil production. This is according to figures from the latest budget implementation report for the fourth quarter of 2024, released by the Budget Office of the Federation. Oil revenue fell by 824.66 billion naira to 1.08 trillion naira during the year from 1.90 trillion naira in 2023, representing a 43.32% decline in the year under review. The decrease in revenue highlights a drift toward taxes and royalties as the dominant contributors. On our health news, operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency have arrested a wanted drug baron, Yusuf Aziz, at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Ikeja, Lagos. The 40-year-old suspect was intercepted on Thursday, November 6, 2025, while attempting to board a flight to Saudi Arabia for Umrah. A statement released yesterday by the NDLEA Director of Media and Advocacy, Femi Babafemi, said Aziz had previously been arrested and charged with drug offences in the United Kingdom, but jumped bail and fled to Nigeria. The NDLEA also said its operatives working with officers of the Nigeria Customs Service and other security agencies intercepted 105.5 kilograms of Molly, a designer drug, and 500 grams of methamphetamine during an examination of a shipment at the CFAX Bonded Terminal, Okota, Lagos, on Friday. Still in hell, the president of Nigerian Association of Hydrogeologists, Martins Eduve, has advised government at all levels to implement a comprehensive reform strategy that integrates private sector engagement and stakeholder participation for improved water service delivery across the country. He gave this advice during the 36th annual conference of the association. Eduvier explained that indigenous knowledge, local water associations, transparency in decision making, and community capacity building are critical for sustainable water governance in Nigeria. The president further admonished the government to strengthen political will through consistent policy implementation, transparent regulatory frameworks, credible partnership structures, and adoption of smart technologies to attract and sustain private sector investment. Now to sports, where the Super Eagles camp has officially opened in Rabat, Morocco, with the arrival of 10 players as Nigeria begin final preparations for their crucial 2026 FIFA World Cup CAF players. The first batch of players and team officials arrived at Rabat yesterday, signaling the start of what could be a decisive week in Nigeria's campaign to return to the world's biggest football stage. The team's media officer, Promise Efoye, told the newsmen that early arrivals included the trio of Calvin Bassey, Alex Iwobi, and Samuel Chukwueze, as well as Tolu Arokodare and Olakunle Olusegun. Still in sports, Akwa United has unveiled their new head coach, Paul Ofo. The Promise Keepers have already presented the young tactician to their fans. Recall that Ofor was appointed head coach of the former Nigeria Premier Football League (NPFL) champions in August. Akwa United expressed confidence in the new tactician's ability to help them secure promotion to the top flight. On entertainment news, Delta North Senator Ned Nwoko has said that his actress wife, Regina Daniels, must go for rehabilitation to tackle drug abuse and safeguard her well-being. This was as the lawmaker said he wants her alive and healthy to raise their children. Nwoko said this in an interview with newsmen, stressing that the decision was necessary for the 25-year-old actress to be in the right state of mind to raise their 2 children. According to the lawmaker, his stance followed a series of alarming toxicology reports indicating high levels of harmful substances in Regina Daniels' system. And that's all we're able to bring to you at this hour. Do well to follow us on social media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, SpectrumTVLive.ng. You have been watching Spectrum Television News at 12 a.m. UIMM. Good afternoon.
Broadening your horizon is what every living being not only genuinely desires, but heartily pursues and intentionally invests in. For in the gathering of men, only those whose minds are in tune with the dynamics of the past, present, and future innovations, inventions, politics, and governance are respected. We are Spectrum Television, and broadening your horizon is our obsession. Rescan your decoder now to connect Spectrum Television on the frequency 12589, symbol rate 2, that is frequency 12589, symbol rate 26250, polarization horizontal, and join our online community at SpectrumTVLive.ng. For further enquiries, please call 0704 158 5642 or 0704 541 77.